Hi friends, welcome back to Farm Girl Diaries. We're out in the garden today because today is planting day. I'm getting all of my brassicas in the ground. It is April 7th, so I'm actually a little bit late. I normally like to put my brassicas in the ground in March, but April 6th is still fine. So my plants look gorgeous. I have some really gorgeous ones that are tall and big and stunning, and then I have ones that don't look that great. So because these ones don't look that great, we're gonna get them in the ground. And why they don't look that great is because they're in very small cells. The ones that are in the bigger cells obviously look better. But that's okay, we're just gonna go get these in the ground and they should be just fine. But one thing I want to talk about before we get these in the ground, actually, let's go start planting and then we'll start talking about what I want to talk about with these guys. That little bunny is trying my patience. She right on the fence, she likes to dig, and she thinks she wants to dig under the fence and check out what's on the other side of the fence. But what is on the other side of this fence is 3 big German Shepherds that are going to find her to be a very tasty snack. So she's a little ticked off with me. I just had to run over and stop her from going under the fence. So now she's laying in the new dirt thinking that, oh, I didn't want to go under the fence. I'm fine right here. So one thing to think about, and I don't think a lot of people necessarily put much thought into this, but it's something that I need to think about, and I actually think about a year prior. I want to think about what I'm going to use these objects for, these plants for, so how many do I want to put back? So this is going to be my broccoli bed this year, and last year I did 12 broccoli plants. And that, I think, was a really good amount for freezing. I froze broccoli for the first time this year, and I absolutely loved having frozen broccoli in my freezer. I think I actually have 5 bags of broccoli left, which I think will be the perfect amount to get me through to when this broccoli is starting to come in. So 12 broccoli plants proved to me that at the rate I ate them, I definitely cannot do less than 12 broccoli plants. But I will say the amount of broccoli that I got to eat fresh was not as much because I really put my effort into freezing the broccoli so I had it throughout the winter. One thing with my garden, just because my garden isn't that big and I want it to be about 8 times the size to actually do what I want to do. But one thing about this garden isn't necessarily a fresh eating garden. This is mainly a garden that I can preserve things with. See, the gloves already came off. I can preserve things with. Let me try to put them back on. I'm going to try to not. The soil is wet. Everything is wet. I really don't want to get my hands all muddy, but we'll see. But the garden is mainly for me to preserve food with and to freeze food with. So with that said, I really, really would like to be able to actually harvest fresh broccoli and eat fresh broccoli when it's coming in. Last year I just didn't do too much because I was more focused on getting it preserved up. So I'm just taking all of my broccoli and I'm pulling it out. I'm going to start by laying it out first. I'm really bad with measurements. I can eye it in my head and I'm like, oh, the plant will never get that big. And I'm normally wrong, so we'll see how well I do. So what I did for this bed is I just pulled off all of this straw. All of this straw was on the bed. I pulled it off and then I added it, top dressed it with that manure compost mixture that I had gotten delivered. And I'm just going to plant the broccoli directly into that, and then when I'm done, I'm going to cover it up with this straw to help with weed control and to help keep my moisture in this bed. This big. Okay, you're going. Then stop. Why are you so pesky today, huh? Hey! No, don't even.
I do not know why she was in such a mood today, but all she wanted to do was escape, so she went right back into her hutch. I will say, after I went and caught her, she let me hold her for about 10 minutes, which she never lets me do. So I got my cuddles in, and so I think it was her way of apologizing for trying to escape. Am I a little crazy? I am, but y'all are watching me anyway, so I feel like if I'm crazy, what does that say about you guys who watch me too? But I got to cuddle her for a little bit, and I appreciated that. The next day, she was not in such a mood to escape, so we got along just fine. But I'm getting my broccoli laid out here, just counting. My goal was to plant 18 broccolis, and I didn't end up getting 18 in this section. I probably could have planted them closer together in order to get 18, but I think it worked out just fine. 12 broccolis last year gave me a good amount of broccoli, so I think I have about 16 in here now. And I think that'll actually be just fine for both freezing and for fresh eating.
Now, what I really like to do when I plant beds is I like to plant beds with multiple things. So I have 2 lines of broccoli, which is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 broccolis. My goal was actually 18, but I think 14 will be good, as long as all 14 of these grow. But I'm going to do 14, and then down the middle, I think it would be pretty to put some cabbage. Broccoli does get tall. It'll probably get like yay tall. And the cabbage will be shorter. But I think that'll be okay. I think it'll look neat. With the broccoli and cabbage side by side, and you don't know until you try. So I'm just gonna throw. I don't want that much cabbage, so I'm gonna throw six cabbages down the middle, and then I'll throw those in the ground. And that has already saved me space because I was gonna put cabbage along the back wall. So now that I'm putting them in here, I can put something else on the back wall. So it's all about, like, I always have a garden plan, but I love when we can kind of save some space, combine, and get more in the ground than we expected. And look, the gloves are still on. The gloves are mainly still on because the ground is cold. It is actually pretty cold today. It's been in the 80s, but today it's like 51, and the ground is cold. So I'm actually liking the gloves today.
So one thing I learned about myself as a gardener is I thought I really would love raised beds, and I actually don't. I prefer in-ground beds. And these are technically raised beds, but for the sake of my knees, one day I hope to have beds that are much higher off of the ground so that I'm not bending over it. This is hard on your back, and this is really hard on my knees. My knees, for some reason, were really sore. I think I just had I was kneeling on so many sharp things, sharp wood chips and just sharp objects that my knees were kind of bruised and had little cuts all over them, which was not fun when I got in the shower that evening. Um, but I love raised beds. I use in-ground beds more. That's a whole other story for a different day. But one day, I hope to have the beds where my knees don't have to go through this much pain in order to get a garden planted.
Okay, now let's talk about what I do with the cabbage. For me, I don't eat cabbage fresh from the garden. I'm actually not a big cabbage eater, but I preserve cabbage in the things that I like. So for me, the number one thing that I do with cabbage is I make sauerkraut. And I don't go through a ton of sauerkraut, but I do like having sauerkraut on hand. Here in Pennsylvania, we do sauerkraut, pork sauerkraut, and mashed potatoes for New Year's dinner and for New Year's Day dinner. And the last 2 years has been my sauerkraut, which I think has been really exciting. So I like to continue to have my sauerkraut on the shelf. So probably 3 of these heads will go to sauerkraut. The other 3 heads are going to go to pickled coleslaw. This is something I made for the first time in 2021, and it's pickled coleslaw. So what I really like about it is the shelf-stable coleslaw, and it is pickled, so it does have obviously more of a vinegar taste than traditional coleslaw. But I love to eat tacos and fish, um, and I like to put coleslaw on both of those. So, well, mainly with fish tacos, I put coleslaw on. But I like to put coleslaw on, and fish tacos and shrimp tacos. I always have frozen fish and frozen shrimp in my freezer, so that's a meal that I can always make because I always have tortillas. I can make tortillas. I have the frozen seafood in my freezer. The only thing that I need is coleslaw. So if like right now I decide I want shrimp tacos, I would have to go to the store and get a head of cabbage and make the coleslaw. But with this pickled coleslaw that I can, it's brilliant because it's a shelf-stable coleslaw. So I do drain the vinegar out of it, or the pickle brine out of it. If you prefer, you could actually rinse off your coleslaw. I actually have come to like the taste. So many things I think with Canon is you have to come to kind of like change your taste a little bit um, in order to consume what you've put up. But now I really actually, I liked the pickled coleslaw before, but it was definitely just something that was like I've never had before. It's a little bit different than what I was used to. But now I do really like it, and I add it to a lot of things. So that pickled coleslaw I add when I make an egg roll in a bowl. I add the pickled coleslaw when I make Asian noodles, and it just gives a little bit of a vinegary deliciousness that some dishes, just especially salty dishes, like egg roll in a bowl that's turkey sausage or ground turkey and soy sauce and all these heavily salty flavors. This pickled coleslaw does really well. It kind of combines everything together. So probably 3 of these cabbages will be pickled coleslaw, and that'll last me for at least 2 years. I wasn't planning on doing cabbage this year, but I kind of screwed up last year. Last year I did cabbage, but I really did very small ones. I didn't fertilize with the whole thing. So I got just, very small heads. But I want to get in the habit of kind of like what I ideally want to do is get in the habit of doing it every other year. So like this year I would just do 2 or 3 heads and I would do sauerkraut, and next year I would do 2 or 3 heads and I would do the pickled coleslaw. Fortunately, I'm out of both, or I will be out of both by the time these cabbages are rolling in. So I needed to do a couple of extra. Now I'm not doing more. I'm only doing 6. And if I didn't have a backup cabbage provider, I would probably do more, just in case these guys something ate them, anything like that. But we're so close to Amish country, and Amish country, there's a whole bunch of farms that just put their produce out on the side of the road, and it's so cheap. So I know when I go over there, I can get big, big heads of cabbage for $1 a piece. So for me, that's worth it. I love growing my own, and if I have the space, I'll do it. But I also know that if I need cabbage, I can go get it for $1 a piece, and you honestly can't beat that. I don't think I'm growing these for cheaper than $1 a piece. So I think that's a kind of like using the community too. You don't need to do everything yourself. You can rely on other people to help you or to kind of supplement what you have. So as of now, 6 cabbages for sauerkraut and pickled coleslaw are what these puppies are going to be for. So before I get these beds covered with straw, I'm going to get a fertilizer on this whole bed. I'm just going to do an all-purpose vegetable fertilizer. And then I think it's a 10-10-10 fertilizer I use. Yeah, 10-10-10 fertilizer. Fertilize all these, and I'm going to cover them with straw. And it's actually looking like rain today. I don't know if they'll call it the rain or not, but it's looking like rain. So I'm not going to water, and the ground's not dry. The ground is pretty damp. So I'm not going to water these in today. I'm just going to leave them right now, and if I need to, we'll come water them this evening or tomorrow. But we have this bed planted. Now, I'll be honest, I don't actually like mulching my beds, especially with straw. I really like the look of a bed with dark soil and the green plants. I think that contrast is really pretty. But there are some benefits that are worth it to mulch your beds with something. I prefer straw because straw doesn't have as much grass seed as perhaps hay would have. You could do both hay or straw, but it forms a nice layer of protection against weeds. So I keep talking about that I really struggled with weeds in this garden last year, and my goal this year, and every year I have a goal in the garden, my goal this year is to really kind of knock down those weeds as much as possible. I'm tired of weeds, and I feel like last year I lost the battle. I really lost the battle with the weeds. So this year my goal, get these knocked down. I put money into soil and cardboard and straw in an effort to keep the weeds at bay. So that's the first reason I'm mulching that bed, is to hopefully the only thing I have grown in that is broccoli and cabbage. And the few things that can make it through the straw, I will pull. So as that straw flattens down, I do need to get some more straw to cover all of the soil that I just laid. All that soil I just laid, you 100% need to cover it, or else it's going to wash away, blow away, it's going to go away, or it's going to start growing weeds. So all that I'm going to cover with straw this weekend, so that won't just be open soil sit-in. However, I think it looks so much nicer when it's open soil sit-in, but it's not worth it. And then too, the straw really helps with moisture control, especially in the heat of summer. Soil raised beds can dry out incredibly quickly, but a mulch on top will help them from drying out. So you can do things like straw, you can do wood chips, you can do an actual mulch. But I really prefer straw. It's cheap, not necessarily the prettiest, but what I like about it too is it breaks down a lot faster than wood chips will, and it feeds the soil a lot faster. So I like that aspect of it too. So I'm just kind of building that soil, making my soil healthier and better, and it's going to grow beautiful, beautiful vegetables. So I got my broccoli and my cabbage in the ground. What I'm not going to do today, because I'm not quite sure of my plan, is I still have some Brussels sprouts. Like, look at those Brussels sprouts. Like, aren't these Brussels sprouts so pretty? So these guys need to go in the ground. And they are also going to go along the back fence. I don't know how many I have, but I'm going to put 6 in the ground. And with my Brussels sprouts, I hope to eat them fresh. That's number one. But I also hope to pickle some. I did pickle Brussels sprouts for the first time last year, and I really, really liked them. I think I did 6 quarts, I believe, and I still have, I think, 2 more left, 1 or 2 more left. So I think 6 quarts was good to last me the whole winter, fall and winter. So I'm thinking maybe if I can get like 7, maybe 8 quarts of pickled Brussels sprouts put back, that would be nice to go kind of into summer. But we're going to see what we get. I'm going to put at least 6. I might put more because I might have more. But that's not going to get done today. But the last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to end this with you guys, but I'm going to take some of that fertilizer, and I'm going to do my other beds. So we've officially entered into the 2023 garden season, and I could not be more excited. We have a lot to do yet, but we have our spring plants in, and I'm currently harvesting asparagus. I got my first batch of asparagus. That's going to be a side for my dinner tonight. So it may be cold and dreary here, but spring is here and the garden season is finally upon us, and I could not be more excited. So stay tuned. We're going to do so much fun stuff this summer, and I have so many fun ideas on content and how to keep the garden interesting, kind of help evaluate to help grow my skills and to do more fun things. So stay tuned, because I have so many ideas that we're going to do together. So thank you guys for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.